Well, hello, I didn't see you there. Welcome again, friends, back to Enterprise Architecture. It had been a little while since we played Minecraft, and so we're back here in my Big Fork modpack. I've been playing a lot of Minecraft lately, but mostly on the shared server I play on with my friends, so haven't really done much with my world here, unfortunately, which means a lot of our projects here have kind of fallen behind, but I figured it's about time to start picking things back up. So, let's get started. So as you all may recall from last episode, we started with our power generation. We got our big water wheel all set up to get a trickle of power into our base. But what we really need to start doing is increasing our ore production, which means really need to start digging in Mekanism, which is a really great machine-based mod. One of the greatest things about Mekanism is that it has machines that let you increase the yield that you get from your ores that you're mining. So if you take a piece of raw iron before you've actually smelted it, if you drop it in the basic Mekanism enrichment machine, you can get twice as much iron ingots out the other side. And then you can also then unlock further tiers of machines that get you triple and quadruple, and I think it goes up to 5 times the ore from a single piece, which is really, really super great and powerful. So we really want to get started on that as quickly as possible. Now, most of the higher tier machines require a lot more electricity than we're currently producing, and also require a whole bunch of secondary components. You're going to need to start using gases, not just fluids, which is a new thing that Mekanism introduces. So yeah, but we're just going to start on the first tiers of Mekanism today. So we're going to build 3 machines here to start. The first is the enrichment chamber, and that's going to take things like a gold ore here, and it'll turn into 2 gold dust. Each of those gold dust we can then put into the energized smelter and create a full gold ingot. So we're getting 2 to 1 off of these machines. Now, you can just use a regular furnace as well, but I like using power rather than continuing having to mine for coal if at all possible. And then the other thing we're going to build is the metallurgic infuser. Now, this one's a little different. It combines 2 different ingredients to create a new material. So for instance, we will be using a lot of our iron ingots in this machine to create the enriched alloy, which is really important moving forward. And we'll also probably be using that to make enriched iron, which can then be turned, of course, directly into steel as well. So we're going to be using this machine a whole lot. So let's go ahead and build these real quick. So let's start with our enrichment chamber. Now, it's relatively straightforward. It's got 2 different steps to the process. First, you have to make a steel casing. Now, last episode, we set up our basic steel production using a different mod. We did that using the immersive engineering mod instead, but any steel will do, as you can see. It accepts any ingot steel. So we're going to go ahead and use that. And I went ahead and cooked up some osmium while I was at it as well. So we can go ahead and make our steel casing. Now, from that steel casing, and let me go ahead and drop these in here because we're going to be using a couple of those. I think each of these, if I remember correctly, uses, except for this one. This one doesn't use steel casing, but these 2 do. So let's just make 1 more steel casing. Great. Okay, so we're going to make first of those the metallurgic infuser because you use that one to create products that are for the other 2 recipes. This one's pretty simple. It just requires a stone furnace or 2, technically 2, and some osmium, some iron, and some redstone. We have plenty of those ingredients, so we're just going to grab that. We're then going to use this to make the control circuits we need for our enrichment chamber. And those are really simple too. It's just redstone and osmium combined together in this machine. So let's see here. Let's go ahead and grab a little bit of redstone. Let's do 4 for now. And actually, there's a whole bunch over here that should be moved over there. Let's just grab all that up. And then we need to grab our osmium here. Let's do 4 for now. Great. Now, we set up power last time, but we don't have like a full power grid yet. So for right now, I'm just going to move this away from the wall by 1 tick. And then I'm going to use our LV wire connector and our LV wire coils to wire that up. And I'm doing it all the way over here on the left for now. Woo! As you all may recall from the last episode, I didn't put shielded cables, so I will continue to get electrocuted every time I walk into that, forgetting that I did not yet make shielded cables. Okay, so immediately you can see all that power being stored in our machine, and that means it's ready to use. So the general recipe here is 1 redstone to 1 osmium ingot is going to give us our processors that we need. So you can see here it's storing it in the machine, and then we start running it, and it'll start producing the material. And there we go. Our basic control circuit is done. Now, basic control circuits can also be used to make other things like advanced control circuits, which then get used in higher tier items as well. But we use a lot of basic control circuits and our enriched alloy in this particular mod. They're the basis of pretty much everything that we do. Okay, we just wait for that 4th one to cook down really quick. Okay, great, all done. So we can run back here and start using those to make the last 2 machines. So we are done with our metallurgic infuser, so we can knock it off the list. And now we can do our enrichment chamber. So let's build one of those with the steel casings here. These are really simple. It's just steel, osmium, and glass. So we make an enrichment chamber, and then we knock that off our list. And an energized smelter. Okay, perfect. 2 more machines. Let's go hook those up now. There is kind of a good way to go about hooking these up in general to plan for future expansion, but I'm not really going to worry about that right now. For right now, I'm just going to plunk some things down. So I'm going to put the enrichment chamber there and the smelter right next to it. Eventually this chain will go all the way down. It'll be a whole row here of machines with various inputs and outputs. But I think this is going to do just fine for the time being. Let's see here. Now we just need to put on our connectors and wire these up like so. Okay, perfect. Now they have power and power there. Wonderful. So let's show off what these can do, just so I can show you what we're talking about. Okay, so if I took this iron and put it into the energized smelter, what I would get out is just the same number of iron ingots. Now that's boring. So instead, we put it into the enrichment chamber. And the enrichment chamber is going to slowly turn this into our iron dust, as I mentioned before. And there you go. You can see 2 iron dust from 1 iron ore. That's a great ratio. We're doubling to start. That's the same ratio we do get off of the Tinker's Construct smeltery we set up, but this is a little bit more efficient, and you can do it in a single block. Now, you don't always want to do this, but for right now, because I'm doing so many items, you can actually configure the different sides of this machine to automatically input and output. So our output currently is on the right. And if I just change this to eject on, you'll see that, and then the smelter, I need to configure its input here on the left. You'll see it ejected that iron ore, iron dust immediately into here, and it can immediately start processing. We can then also set this up to eject itself. And if we have a chest next to it, it'll drop all the items into the chest. Just like so. And there you see automatically all of these iron ingots are going to be deposited into this chest. So this gives us a little machine flow here, and will be the start of our new production line. So yeah, that's the basics of Mekanism. Now, like I said, there is a lot of machines. See here when I'm scrolling through, there's a ton of basic machines that then get turned into factories, which allow you to have multiple inputs and outputs. And those have different tiers of factories as well, from basic to advanced to elite. And I think that there's another tier above that. I don't remember what it's called, but I'm sure it'll be in here. Ultimate, I think. Anyway, They also have energy storage, like energy cubes, which we'll probably want to make a couple of here pretty quick, because that's going to be a better energy storage system than the existing one. And then the other thing it also offers us here is some connector pipes, but we're not actually going to use those. These basic mechanical pipes, advanced universal cables, etc. These are for moving around power, for moving around liquids, for moving around items, and for moving around gases. But as I mentioned, we don't want to use those this time. We want to do something else. And the something else we want to do is use Ender IO. Ender IO is another mod that's technology focused. But the main benefit I like about Ender IO is its wires and cables. It allows you to put multiple inputs and outputs on a single side of a machine, which makes routing all of the cables together a lot simpler at the end of the day. And it also has a bunch of extra things that it adds to the mod. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in here. It's a really great tech mod. But these are what we're interested in. Item conduits, fluid conduits, pressurized fluid conduits, ender fluid conduits, and energy conduits. And of course redstone conduits, which we don't use nearly as much, but exist. These, however, are a little bit expensive. You either need pulsating iron or dark steel, which can only be made through either combining items in the alloy smelter that comes with this mod. So we'll probably want to make one of these real quick. The hardest part of this mod is that you need industrial dye blend, which is a whole bunch of random ingredients that have to be cooked together and put together, and it's a whole thing. So instead of building out this entire normal alloy smelter, we're going to start with a simple one. The simple one is way cheap and super easy to make. The simple machine chassis is all you need for that, and that just needs iron bars and grains of infinity. Now, grains of infinity, what are these? This is the basis of the Ender IO mod, similar to the alloying we saw previously, except for grains of infinity are made by setting bedrock on fire, which is a really fascinating mechanic. So first things first, we have to dig our way down to bedrock, and then we're going to go light it on fire. So let's do that real quick. Okay, so here we are down at bedrock level. It didn't take me too long to tunnel our way through here, particularly given that we have our Tinker's Construct iron hammer. I did just break it because it finally got used up in the time that we spent digging all the way down here, but here we are. Pretty quick trip, and I actually picked up a whole ton of resources during that quick trip. Again, we're playing my tweaked mod pack where ore generation is way tweaked up high. I got 43 diamonds in that brief little 5-minute run. That's a decent number, and a whole stack of iron, and a bunch of osmium and things like that too, 36. So now what we need to do to continue with Ender IO is set bedrock on fire. We're also going to try to not set ourselves on fire, which is a pretty big hazard down here, and I did not plan ahead to bring a bucket of water. So I'm just going to have to make do. Set that on fire again. Now, eventually, once you've done this enough times, it will create these grains of infinity. It's completely random as to whether or not they generate, but it does take a couple of tries to get some. There we go. Collect the infinite. Advancement made. And now we have 3 grains of infinity. While we're here, let's just get a few more. We're going to use this for a bunch of our Ender IO recipes, so it's best to go ahead and get extra. Yes, this is fine. This is fine. Okay, great. Last few coming in here. All right, 17. We'll just wait for these to go out, but 17 is going to be plenty for where we need to be to get started. Okay, so to make our simple alloy smelter, we first need a simple machine chassis. That's relatively easy. We just need to make some iron bars first, and then we can use our grains of infinity and other iron to make a simple chassis. Great. Then from there, we need 2 furnaces. 1, 2, as well as a couple of stone gears. There's a couple of different ways to make stone gears. We're just going to go with the sticks and cobble recipe there. Great. And a bucket. And buckets are, of course, standard recipe. Everybody knows how to make a bucket. 3 pieces of iron. And then we need 3 pieces of iron on top of it. And there we go. Simple alloy smelter built. Okay. Now, simple alloy smelter will allow us to make things like dark iron and vibrant alloys, all sorts of things here. And I think, yeah, dark steel is probably what we need first, which is done with obsidian, coal, and iron. We do need to pulverize the coal, but that's easily done with the crusher or with a pulverizer. Maybe we go ahead and make a crusher while we're at it here. We will need to grab 2 buckets of lava though, so let me go do that real quick. Now, while we're making these, I did want to show one quick little upgrade tweak that you can do. Instead of using raw redstone in our metallurgic infuser, you can actually use the enrichment chamber to change it into compressed redstone. And each of these is worth 8 redstone. This is a really, really efficient way to be able to create the higher tier alloys here, which otherwise would be relatively expensive for us to create one at a time. So we're compressing that before we convert that in our metallurgic infuser, again with our iron and our osmium. Also, you can use that same trick with carbon when you're compressing coal, with diamond, and with refined obsidian as well, as I recall. So it's a real efficient way to be able to use this machine is by enriching the ingredient first. And again, it gets you a 1:8 ratio. I think in later versions of the game, sometimes it's 1:4 in some mod packs I've played, but 1:8 is in my mod pack, and that's, again, real efficient for us at this point in the game where we don't have so many resources. So we're going to use that basic control circuit we just made to create a crusher. Crushers, again, are really simple. We just build another steel casing, exactly like we did before. And now I've gotten 2 buckets of lava, we've got some redstone, and we just slap that together, and there we go. 1 crusher. I'm going to keep my buckets because I'm going to use those later, but I will drop off some of this extra stuff that I don't need right now. Great. So, crushers and alloy smelters. Let's go put those down next to the rest of our ingredients. We'll put that there, put this there, and wire these up. Now, again, this is going to be a temporary wiring of these up. How am I supposed to get over there? That was poor planning on my part. Oh. Well, I knew it was going to happen sooner or later, y'all. I might have to take down my wires temporarily just so I don't hurt myself too badly. Let's grab our wire cutters real quick. Give me that. Okay. Let's try and not electrocute ourselves this time. Whoops. Why did that get put there? And right here where I'm standing is where I need that to go. There we go. Okay. Let's connect everything back up. Yeah, these wires are brutal. We really need to fix this very quickly. Or at least build insulated wires, which would be the smart thing for me to do. Okay, so we've gotten everything we need to start doing our alloying. So first, let's make some energy conduits so that we can stop electrocuting ourselves. Now, energy conduits are made with conduit binder, and conductive iron. Conductive iron, of course, is redstone and iron. Real simple. Conduit binder should look relatively familiar because we used a very similar recipe for grout. It's sand, clay, and gravel. So, oops, looks like I'm missing my clay. You know, I know we have a lot of clay, but I think all of it is in block form. Let's just knock this out real quick. There we go. Okay, drop our clay blocks off there. So yeah, it's basically the same recipe as grout, just in a different amount and combination, a different shape. So let's go ahead and make a bunch of that. We'll do 64. That's a good start. And we're going to go through it real fast anyway, so may as well. And now what we need to do is make our conductive iron. We need a lot of energy conduits. So I'm going to go ahead and let's say make, let's do 12 to start. So that's 12 pieces of redstone. Oh, and look, I am not grout. That's what it says in the corner there because it knows that slightly different recipe. Okay, let's go combine these in our alloying machine. Okay, so we want 12 iron and 12 redstone. And that'll slowly cook. And again, since this is the simple alloy smelter, it's going to go real slow. Now, while that's going, we're also going to go ahead and cook our conduit binder. And we're also going to go ahead and crush our coal, which we're going to use for dark steel here coming up in a bit. That's used to make iron conduits. Now, this is a custom recipe. Usually you have to have pulsating iron, but you can't get pulsating iron until you beat a bunch of Endermen. And I figured it would be nice to have a way to get it earlier in the game. So I created an alternate recipe where you can get 3 for a couple of dark steel nuggets, which are, again, way simpler to make. Okay, and then eventually we'll be using the fluid conduits, which we just use quite clear glass. That's just made by cooking it in an alloy smelter. And then gas conduits, which you can actually make with enriched alloy from Mekanism. This is one where there's an integration between the 2 mods, because, of course, there are no gases in Ender IO by default, but Mekanism has them, so we use enriched alloy from that as well. Now, while that's going, we're also cooking down coal coke here so that we can make steel in our immersive engineering blast furnace. So that's going on behind me as well, because we're going to use a lot more steel. Now, while we're at it, another thing we're going to use a lot of is silicon. Silicon is used in ingredients like electrical steel, where we alloy it with coal and iron. And we need that to make at least one Yeta wrench, which is the configurator tool for Ender IO. The easy way to make silicon is actually just to crush sand, which again is a custom recipe here. So we're going to go ahead and do that real quick to get a bunch of silicon going. We're going to use so much of this over the course of the game, so doing a full stack right now is not the worst idea in the world. Okay, I think we have everything that we need now. So first things first, let's build our Yeta wrench, because I know that we're going to be needing that. Oops, we are missing a gear, so let's go ahead and build that. Again, stone gear, same simple recipe. I'm using our electrical steel that we created in the alloy smelter, and now we have a Yeta wrench. So now we can configure all the pipes we're about to make. Now, before we make our energy conduit, we do need a place to store our energy. The Mekanism Energy Cube, I think, is the best way to do that. It's a relatively cheap build, and it holds a decent amount of energy. You do have to create these energy tablets in addition to the steel frame, and oops, it looks like we don't have enough gold. Let's fix that real quick. Okay, so like I was saying, we need energy tablets here, and it takes 2 of them to be able to make our basic energy cube. So let's go ahead and build one of those real quick. Now, we might even be able to make an advanced energy cube. It looks like all we need is 2 more energy tablets and a whole bunch of alloy, which we already had laying around. Let's see if we have enough to do that real fast. Oh, we need 2 more enriched alloy. Well, that's easily dealt with. Let me go get that real quick. And thankfully, I already had some cooking in the background, so that is already ready for us. Let's go ahead and make that. Perfect. So the difference between the basic and the advanced, this one holds 800 kilo red flux, I guess, versus 3.2 megas. So many times more powerful, basically 4 times the capacity in that upgrade. To get to elite, though, you need reinforced alloy, which you have to use with compressed diamond. I think we could technically do that. I think we have enough ingredients laying around to do that, but I don't think we really need that at this stage, but we will want to upgrade later. Now, one thing that's really great about Mekanism in general is they make really easy upgrade paths for most of your machines. So we are going to want to take advantage of that in the future. You can also upgrade the cables with a click, but again, we're not using those cables for this particular build. Okay, back to our energy conduits. We're going to make as many as we can. Let's go ahead and dump our items in here so it recognizes it. We'll make those energy conduits. Let's keep going. Can we make more than that? No, it looks like that was all of it. Okay, that makes sense though. I think it used all 12 of those that we had for our conductive iron that we made. Great, so we have our energy conduits, we have a place to store our energy. Now we are ready to replace these horrible cables that keep electrocuting me over and over and over again. Let's just take all of that down. Okay, and now we can take these off the back. Don't need those anymore. And we can take these off the wall. I know we only just put them up last episode, but again, just temporary. Now, one thing I don't remember is whether or not I actually need a wire connector here if I'm using my energy cube. We're going to have to check this out real quick. So again, you can configure the sides on this. Now, since we put it in this direction, this should be the front facing us, I believe is how it works. Let me see here. We want to make that input. And in theory, these, yeah, there we go. They change their look depending on if it's input or output. So we're going to tell that that's input, and we're going to make all the other sides output, like so. Perfect. Okay, and now we just need to, in theory, connect it up. I think this will work. Yeah, there we go. So it's automatically pulling the electricity from our kinetic dynamo, again, which is attached to our water wheel. You can hear the water flowing in the background. And then it's piping that into our advanced energy cube. Now, when we click on this cable connector, this big black piece here, you can choose the operation of that cable. So we only want this to insert. We don't want it to extract. And then you can see the arrow goes the same way. And then we'll do the opposite here. This one should only be extracting. It should never be inserting. So again, the arrows go here and then here. Now, we just need to pull the electricity out of that container. Now, to do that, I'm actually going to move this chest, which is in a very awkward location, so that we can run our cables down and out. And again, we're going to configure this, extract only, no inserting, and our power will come out the back. And you can see these are nice and spindly cables. The ones that come with Mekanism are much heavier and thicker and take up a full block. But these are configured in such a way that you can put multiple in one slot, like I was saying before. So I can run my item conduits on top of these, my fluid conduits, all into one little network. And then I can configure them so that only the right inputs and outputs are going into the right machines that I want. That makes it super efficient and easy to manage. Okay, and there we go. We've gotten a whole bunch of our Mekanism machines set up. We've got our initial Ender IO production for our simple alloys and our Ender IO conduits. That's about what we needed to do today to start getting our basic production set up. And from here, we already are doubling our ores. we have a lot of extra efficiency now just by using machines instead of doing everything by hand. So I think that's pretty good. Okay, so before we wrap up, I want to use a little bit more conduit binder and do one more little improvement. So I'm going to create some fluid conduits here real quick. I'll go ahead and do 2 sets. I cooked up some quite clear glass, which again is just regular glass that is cooked in the alloy smelter. And I'm going to put down our advanced fluid tank over here next to our coke oven. So plonk that down here and plonk this like that. And then, in theory, I should be able to tell it to go ahead and take all of the fluid out, just like that. And you can see it slowly pouring in and filling up our fluid tank. And that way, it'll automatically keep draining off of our coke oven, and our coke oven won't get backed up. Although this container is already pretty full, so we probably need to upgrade our system here. But again, just a really neat little thing that you can do with Ender IO. Again, we can set this to always extract on this end, and set this side to always insert, and you can see the arrows, and that'll just keep pumping away. Again, you don't need any additional power or anything. It does it automatically, and automatically would pull out all of that fluid into your tanks. I really love this mod for that one big advantage there. Okay, and so that wraps up this episode of Enterprise Architecture. Again, I've marked off on our board that we've started to get our mechanism production in place. We got some Ender IO started, and I think next episode we're going to start building out some solar arrays to deal with the increased energy consumption needs of our new factory that we're building over there. But for now, we're going to say goodbye. Thanks for joining us here, and we'll see you back here next time. Bye, friends.